Minnesota Vikings fans, you are listening to the Purple People podcast. My name is Kyle West. I am accompanied by the one and only Adam B. Carlson.
Yeah, there's a lot of Adam B. Carlsons out there, at least Namefinder says, but
Well, you
I'm
are
the
the
only one in the
one and only.
podcast, so that's good.
Yes. For us. We got Kyle Smith out there on the road, but he is with us tonight.
Driving in a car.
That's right. So if you hear some Siri talking or maybe a little bit of traffic, that would be him. But please forgive us for that. That way we can all be together.
So professional.
And this week we got episode number 178 of the Purple People podcast. This one is titled The Newman Centipede. Got to give a big thank out to Tommy Gunn for this one. He helped us with figuring out that we can use Newman and Human because they sound alike. And Terrence Newman, of course, had that really nice game against the Raiders. So Newman Centipede, one of my favorite, well, not one of my favorite movies, but definitely an interesting movie. Human Centipede, if you haven't seen it, it's something different.
You should go to a buffet and then go watch that movie immediately afterwards.
You should have a party where you just buy a ton of chocolate snack packs, sit around, eat them, and watch the movie.
You want refried beans and lots of, Taco Bell.
Oh, yeah. Well, now that we've thrown all our journalistic integrity out the window, let's talk.
We never had any to begin with, Adam.
No, we didn't. But it's fun to talk about.
We pretend. We pretend sometimes, but...
So you remember Teddy Bridgewater getting hit and his head bouncing off the turf and him getting a concussion and everybody not liking LaMarcus Joyner for doing it?
I do.
It was only a week ago, so hopefully you do remember.
I wonder if Teddy remembers.
I knew that was coming. Wow.
Anyway, he was fined $23,152 for that hit.
I like the way it's 52. Like, it's not an even amount.
No, these fines are always the weirdest numbers.
That is exactly, half of my salary for a year. No big deal. That's fine.
No big whoop.
No big deal. We do have some sad roster news, though. Chase Ford, no longer a member of the Minnesota Vikings. They had him clear waivers. They brought him back to the practice squad. But we all knew that Chase Ford had too much talent to stay on the practice squad. He got snapped up by the Baltimore Ravens.
Sad to see him go, but happy to see Chase Ford get an opportunity with a team that will, maybe potentially use him.
Absolutely. He wasn't going to get the chances here in Minnesota with all the draft picks they had, the money they've invested in Kyle Rudolph, everything like that going on. So it's good to see him get an opportunity, but I hate to see him go because he was a really good contributor in Minnesota. We have a nomination for FedEx Ground Performance of the Week for Adrian Peterson, Week 10, Oakland. He had one really nice run for 80 yards that helped put the nail in the coffin against the Raiders. Otherwise, he just took chunks and chunks and chunks down the field. We'll talk more about him in a little bit.
Spoiler alert, he could be in line for a game ball. Just saying.
It's possible. It is possible.
And another one. A lot of the guys that win it's because of multiple touchdowns, but I think this should seal the deal for him to add one of those useless trophies and certificates he's never going to care about. He should definitely win this week, and we'll get into it when the game comes around. You're right. I'm sure he's going to be somebody's game ball, but this guy is way above number 2 for rushing yards, but I don't want to give anything away just yet.
No, you don't want to be doing that. Right now, Adrian Peterson leads all other NFL running backs by 227 yards in the battle for the rushing crown. Currently stands at 961 yards gained on the ground. He's having a pretty solid season.
And guess what the scary part is? It's just now looking like Adrian is really starting to get his stride. You know that?
Well, that and his offensive line in front of him is really starting to get it together. Mm-hmm. Joe Berger and Mike Harris are playing some of the best football of their careers. And Matt Khalil's holding his own. TJ Clemmings has always been a little bit of a road grader.
Doing the best he can. He's a rookie. But
yeah,
you know what?
Stepping in.
He's learning on the fly pretty admirably.
Absolutely. And Fesco's there.
Yep, he's there.
He's a part of it too.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of players winning awards other than Adrian Peterson, Terrence Newman was awarded with the Bridgestone Performance of the Week.
Yeah,
We'll talk
he
about
gets those
why he got
tires.
that award in a little bit. You and those tires, you love them.
I like that tire joke. I'm not going to give up on it.
And you know how hard it is now to type Bridgestone without typing Bridgewater?
I don't know. I've never really had to type Bridgestone, but I can imagine.
It's
That's
a
pretty
force of
funny.
habit. Fingers just go Bridgewater.
Mm-hmm.
It's weird. So, Pro Football Focus, people love it, people hate it. They run by the stats, they do their thing. But each week they make a list of their their highest scoring players at each position and put together a sort of all week team.
All pro team for the week, right?
Right. Yeah, with their highest scoring
Yep.
players. On that team, 4 Minnesota Vikings made the cut. I don't think Mr. Smith has the words in front of him as far as this week's notes, so let's have him guess.
If I remember correctly, which I know 3 of the 4 off the top of my head, Adrian Peterson obviously is one of
Correct.
them. He had 203 rush yards this weekend, a touchdown from an 80-yard break in the fourth quarter. Joe Berger got a lot of praise.
Yes.
Linval Joseph was another, which he's been on fire lately. And the last one, I remembered all 4. Terrence Newman, or
Yes.
as I was trying to say for the beginning of the episode, the Newman torch was denied a bank loan.
If we could have longer titles, that definitely would have been it.
But yes, all 4 of them. And what you guys got to realize is over the past years, if you've done any clicking around besides the podcast, which I'm sure you have, it's usually one highlight on defense. Maybe it was Harrison Smith for a while, or AP was always kind of a gimme. But 4 of our guys, to include Joe Berger, and correct me if I'm wrong, I'm going to get murdered if I'm wrong for this, but I'm okay with that. Joe Berger is our backup center, correct? I'm
That's
having
correct.
a brain fart. Yeah, a backup center is getting praise from people. And
Highest graded center in the league for week 10.
amazing.
The Vikings backup.
Amazing football is being played by damn near everyone on the team. So pretty cool little thing. I'm glad that other people besides AP, not to take anything away from them, I'm glad other people are getting recognition because they're playing pretty well as a unit. But individual players are always cool too.
I think this is the first time in 3 weeks that Mike Harris hasn't been a part of that team. So I just want to recognize Mike Harris for the things he does too, because he's usually a regular. Him and Harrison Smith make that list often.
Mm-hmm.
That was the biggest shocker for me. Dirty Harry wasn't on there.
One player made a real nice tackle during the game against Oakland, though. Antone Exum brought down a Raiders fan who ran on the field and just sort of did his own thing, and I guess he just wanted to be on TV, but Antone Exum grabbed him, put him in a nice front chin lock there, and didn't let go till the police had him.
Yeah, so there you go. Game time for Antone Exum Jr. Getting his highlights out there.
That's right. That'll make the highlight reel.
That'll make... You betcha.
Got a little bit of disappointing news, though. Mike Wallace is aware of his situation with the Vikings. What I mean by that is that he knows that he has to step up his production in order to match the payday that he's getting. Otherwise, his future with the Vikings might be in jeopardy. This is a story that ran on the Star Tribune. They are never really ones to shy away from questions like this about a player's future or salary. And honestly, I think it must be really awkward when your team is winning the way they are to have a reporter come to you and say, hey, you're not doing enough. You might not be here in the future.
And have him actually be pretty correct on that. Spoiler alert, bold statement of the week might have something to do with this. So, yeah, it's pretty crazy because you can tell, like, the biggest thing, I don't know if you guys paid attention last year, we wanted him last year, but we couldn't get him, so we kept Greg Jennings, but or maybe it was 2 years ago. I know we were going after a free
I think it was
agent,
2 years ago.
Right.
no, yeah, I stand corrected then. My apologies. We wanted to go after him, which would have been cooler because he was in his prime and he would have been a little younger, but we didn't. We finally got him, and I felt bad because if you guys remember, there was always like little character and personality issues, maybe attitude issues. He has shown none of that here. He's been a very, very team player and very, very the team mentality. That's what makes it so hard for me, because I feel like he really wants to, but when you have somebody like Stephon Diggs just step in and blaze it up, it's kind of awkward.
I admit I was critical of his past outbursts and actions on the field and what his teammates were saying about him. But I've seen absolutely none of that since he's come to Minnesota, and he's made me eat my words on that. Now, if he can just prove to be that guy that's going to catch the deep ball, and I know he's had some chances with Teddy overthrowing him, a couple drops here and there. Well, quite a few drops, but still, he can do it. We know he can. He just needs a little bit more opportunities. He needs to take advantage of the opportunities he does get. So hopefully he can step it up and earn his spot on the Vikings.
And I believe the word that Mike Wallace used was frustrated. He
Yes.
was frustrated with his performance, and you know what? Like I said on the Facebook page, I don't necessarily think that that's a bad thing from him.
No,
Like,
he
he's
shouldn't
not
be content.
exactly. So, that's a good maybe motivation for him to use that frustration to go out on the field and try to, remedy whatever the situation is, and to hopefully turn it around for the team.
So true. So here's a little bit of spoiler for you. The Vikings beat the Raiders last week. It happened.
hmm
And now, all of a sudden, the national media is hopping on the Vikings bandwagon.
Well, we're leading the
weird
about
division
that.
now, so they kind of have to pay attention.
Well, the Vikings were ahead in the division last week, too. But they were still sitting down, and some people had them in their power rankings anywhere between 6 and 15. Listen to some of these rankings now. NFL.com has the Vikings at number 5.
I like
Says the Vikings' triumph in the East Bay went largely unnoticed around the country, with the Patriots facing their nemesis of the vintage Peyton Manning, assailing 2 records. So they spent most of their time talking about Peyton Manning and not about the Vikings, but they have him at number 5, which I guess it's cool to be at number 5, but say something about the team. Washington Post has them at number 4. They say the Vikings are absolutely for real, and a victory Sunday at home over the downward spiraling Packers would establish them as clearly the NFC North's top team. Yahoo has Minnesota at number 6. Says every season there's a team that keeps outrunning the advanced stats that they say they're not really as good as their record. It seems like that's the Vikings' role this year. Bleacher Report has the Vikings at number 5. And fan-sided as well. Minnesota Vikings continue to prove they're for real, defeating the Oakland Raiders 7-2, blah, blah, blah. Monday Morning Quarterback, number 5. It's almost as if these guys get together and discuss these things, isn't it?
It is.
He writes, incredible. In 2 months, the Vikings have passed the Packers legitimately in the NFC North. Minnesota's playing Green Bay and Minneapolis on Sunday with a 2-game lead in the division at stake. That's how big the game is. Pro Football Talk, number 5. SB Nation, number 4. Heavy.com, I don't even know who they are, but they got them at number 5.
Heavy.com.
All their URLs were taken.
I guess. They couldn't come up with something sports related?
It's not.
Just weird.
It's nice, though, that we are shooting up in the rankings like that.
But why are they shooting up in the rankings? I'll tell you why.
Because they're winning.
Defense.
Mm-hmm.
The Minnesota Vikings defense has been incredible. I wrote an article on the Viking Age about why the Minnesota Vikings defense is nearing elite status in the NFL, and right now they're allowing the second fewest points per game, 17.1. The third best third down conversion rate, only letting their opponents complete 32%. They're number 5 in passing touchdowns allowed, number 7 in rushing touchdowns allowed, number 8 in yards allowed per completion, and we saw a lot of that by them stuffing those short screens and short passes. So that's why that is the way it is. Number 8 passing yards per game, number 9 in yards allowed per game, number 9 in first downs allowed per game. The Minnesota Vikings are getting it done on the defensive side of the ball, and not only that, but the special teams and defense are coming together to help support the offense, which is still struggling to find an identity. And these 2 phases of the game are really just keeping the offense in it and letting the offense do what they're doing. And with Adrian Peterson hitting his stride, Teddy Bridgewater continuing to develop, this team could keep being scary if they can keep healthy on the defensive side of the ball.
Very much so. I love the defense that they're building here in Minnesota. I believe it's going to be, by the time this is all said and done, probably one of the best that we've had in the team's history. It could be after a couple years if they keep building like this, which is saying a lot because we've had some pretty historically good and great defenses here in Minnesota. But if Mike Zimmer can keep doing what he's doing with that side of the ball, man, we're going to be at the point where defenses can just win us games. I think we kind of already are at that point, but it can.
And you know what it is?
Minnesota hasn't allowed more than 23 points in a game yet.
Mm-hmm.
You know what it is? It reminds me so much. If we could get those random deep balls done, this reminds me 2 years ago of Seattle, like to a T.
Yeah.
It's ground and pound. Defense is gonna win, and we're just gonna keep you off the field long enough for our offense to stay on the field long enough to outscore you, because we're not going to let you go anywhere. And not so much the secondary, because they do have the Legion of Boom there. I guess that's still, I don't know, they're a way different team this year, but our line is our identity. Our linebacking core is deep, and we got one of the best, if not the best, safeties in the league. So it's Seattle made over again, and I love it.
Absolutely. I'll let Mr. West handle this mini topic because he's got a little bit invested in it.
Yeah, this is a fun one. On Monday, the team shows up to work, and what does Mike Zimmer have made for them? He's got some T-shirts that they had, I believe, the NFL logo or something on the front.
On the front, it said the word North.
Yes, and on the back, it says Beat Green Bay along the back of it. That's kind of a cool, fun way to motivate the team that, hey, we're coming into a big divisional game this week. And I thought that as Vikings fans, we should all have T-shirts that say Beat Green Bay on them because that is awesome. So I went ahead and made us an official Purple People Podcast Beat Green Bay T-shirt design. You guys can check it out over at KyleWestPhotography.com. You click on digital art, you will see the design. You just click on the design, you'll see a whole host of options. You click on clothing, and then you can get it in whatever color you want. You can get it black, white, green, you can get orange if you want to, whatever.
And you've also got the T-shirt with the Purple People Podcast headphones logo, right?
Yeah, so we have the Purple People Podcast headphones logo. I've got one of Randy Moss, some Stephon Diggs, some other Viking stuff in there, so lots of things to check out. But yeah, the Beat Green Bay T-shirt is really super cool, so check it out. Hopefully you guys like it.
That is definitely something you should do. KyleWestPhotography.com.
You betcha. We'll have the link in the description as well.
Yeah. All right, so the Minnesota Vikings defeated the Oakland Raiders 30-14, and we are going to give away some game balls and donkeys.
This is going to be fun. I think we know who the game balls are going to be, but the donkeys will be interesting.
All right, well, I'll be the spoiler. I had 3 choices here. They're very, 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 very easy. But there was this guy last week, and his name rhymes with mine, and his bold statement of the week was, feed the beast. It's really weird when you just keep handing Adrian the ball, and he just gets these huge chunks. And then one guy that I'm sure is going to get the game ball from someone else gets a second interception today, and you think, man, we're just going to take a knee and we're going to run the clock out. No, Adrian's going to run for 80 yards, score a touchdown, and have over 200 yards for the day. So a little bit of a pat on the back to myself, but holy crap, AP, 30 years old, leading the league in rushing, is like 200 and some odd yards above number 2 guy. You get my game ball this week. Hell of a game. And it wasn't just because of the 80-yard breakaway in the fourth quarter. This dude was just shaking people and making cuts. He was catching the ball in the backfield. He did everything. And I'll be honest with you, I think he's the reason offensively we won the game. That's just my personal opinion. So,
Kyle West, who's your game ball go to?
Well, my game ball, you know what, sometimes easy choice is easy for a reason. Man, I gotta give it to Terrence Newman. Talk about a guy who, at the beginning of the year, if anyone would have said, Terrence Newman is essentially going to close out and win you a football game, I would not have taken that bet. Like, I really thought when we signed him, here's a veteran, he's at the end of his playing career, he's coming in because he knows the system, and he's going to teach the young guys, and maybe he doesn't even make it out of preseason, is what I was thinking for him. Turns out, Terrence Newman has turned into a really good piece for this Minnesota Vikings team. Like we said, he got the 2 interceptions, the one at the end of the game. Man, the combination of that interception and then that 80-yard touchdown run from Adrian Peterson, that was one of the biggest momentum shifts I think I have ever seen in a football game. That was just fantastic.
Terrence Newman's back-to-back pass defenses
I
in the
know.
fourth quarter just absolutely blew my mind.
So
Yeah,
you
it's a
really got to
great
give it up to him.
My game ball, well, my heart says to give it to Joe Berger, but I don't get an opportunity to do this very much.
See, Pat?
Cordero Patterson,
I knew it.
Oh,
for your contributions on special teams. I don't know
If you'll
why
ever
you
do
can't
it again.
contribute more as a wide receiver, but getting that touchdown on special teams really helped change the whole feel of the game.
Adam, a blind squirrel finds his nuts every now and then.
That's not how the saying goes, but
That's how the saying goes when I say it. No, you know what though? You do got to give it. Maybe. This is the thing that Cordero can use as a spark to finally get going for this team, right?
absolutely.
maybe.
I want to give honorable mention to Red Ellison. He was the one that helped spring Patterson on the end of that touchdown run, and he also caught a touchdown. So, Red Ellison.
Yeah, because another tight end, just dropped a wide open pass in the end zone.
Oh my goodness!
Spoiler
Is
alert.
that a preview for your donkey?
That is not a preview for my donkey.
I
You
bet
know
that's
what?
a preview for Kyle West's donkey.
No,
Hopefully.
it's actually not.
Well, since neither you take it, I'll take it.
Okay,
That's the low-hanging fruit right there.
go for it. Hit
With
that
what
fruit.
with what Kyle Rudolph has paid, and his history of being able to just catch some awesome passes, when he has a gimme that just absolutely is one of the worst drops with how much the Vikings struggle in the red zone to score touchdowns, you have to cash in on those opportunities. You have to. And when Kyle Rudolph doesn't, it really, really hams my biscuits.
Yeah, he was essentially uncovered in the end zone. That was Troy Williamson-like, and how bad of a drop that was. It hit him square in the hands and in the chest, and just popped out, which is amazing considering how big that dude's hands are. They're the size of a football. I don't know. When that happened, didn't you guys think, great, we're gonna lose this game by 7 points now?
I should have seen social media.
I was on social media.
Everybody was said, "Oh, now we're gonna lose the game by 4 points."
Yep.
And that's the Vikings fans' mentality. It still is. But the problem is that the Vikings have changed, and that mentality has to change from us.
Mm-hmm.
This Minnesota Vikings team can afford to make a couple mistakes. But you definitely don't want to see it happen.
Yeah, let's just not do it. I suppose I'll be the bad guy. Someone's got to do this at some point. And I think this is the game where I have to do it. I have to give the donkey to Teddy Bridgewater this week.
Interesting. Why?
You know what? It just wasn't that good of an overall performance from Teddy. Like, I realized they won the game, but I thought there were times where the offense just spittered and sputtered, and I felt like he was holding on to the ball too long. Now, I was listening to K-Fan afterwards, and Ben Lieber made a really good point. We don't know from, watching the telecast at home as to really what was going on down the field with the Vikings receivers. If they were just covered that well and Teddy legitimately had nowhere to go with the football, or if he's just, holding on to it, whatever, trying so hard to not make a mistake that he doesn't want to throw the ball to someone that's a little bit covered. I've really got problems when he slides with the football. It's really awkward, and he just doesn't. I don't know if this is because of the concussion from last week, but when he was sliding this week, you just kind of feel like you're waiting for him to get hurt. The way he does it, they need to work
He
on
has
him.
actually talked about that. He hates sliding.
You can tell, and like I said, maybe this week he was trying extra hard to protect himself. I mean, shit, I would be if you're playing a week later after getting a concussion. I wouldn't want to take that big hit either, so I understand it. But it's really awkward for him, and overall, these are the kind of games that we won, but I feel like, I'm expecting more from Teddy, so for this week, I'm going to give him my donkey award.
See, I would not have gone that way. He only attempted 22 passes, completed 14, averaged 10 yards per completion, should have had 2 touchdowns, didn't turn the ball over. I definitely wouldn't have gone there, but it's a bold choice.
He's doing enough to win us football games, but I had kind of hoped that he would be doing more than just enough, if that makes sense.
You know what I'm okay with? Not to steal your thunder. I'm okay with him not turning the ball over. That's my biggest concern with Teddy. Because when he throws picks, they're not ponder-like, but they are bad. Like red zone, just horrible passes. So I'm really glad this week, even though Derek Carr has clearly got a better arm, deep ball and all that. 2 picks, Teddy has none. Better quarterback rating, better completion percentage. I will take it. But you're right. This game, my biggest thing that I agree with you on there, he hangs onto the ball way too long.
Yes.
But you don't want him to get rid of the ball if the players are covered.
This is true.
That's the problem.
Exactly.
And he can't throw the ball while he's escaping pressure in the pocket. So there are some problems there going on. The offensive line is still a work in progress. TJ Clemmings still working, still getting help from the tight ends and running backs. And we knew that was going to be the case with him being a rookie and trying to step in. But this team is doing what they can. And even though I disagree with your choice for Bridgewater, I do see how you want the offense to operate a little more smoothly and how you want the ball to get out faster. So,
you know what?
I suppose.
Really quick, and then we can move on. If we were to flash forward to next year's draft, which I know Adam is looking forward to doing soon, right, Adam? I would not actually be opposed to them taking a big-time wide receiver if they somehow got one that's available, because I do think that even though we've got good receivers on this team, having someone like an Amari Cooper or whatever for Teddy would really probably help him out, and you wouldn't feel like he's, quote, holding the ball so much. If he
that's my problem with the Vikings offense. I'll agree with you totally, because the Vikings need that big-bodied receiver, because they don't have one.
They've been searching for a long time, they'd hoped that Cordero was that guy. They bring in Mike Wallace, he's not that guy either, and they're just that's still a big piece that they're searching for.
Because if the Vikings run a jump ball, their best wide receiver is 6'1", 6'2", around that area. Otherwise, they have to go to Kyle Rudolph, who's already proven
drops
that
passes.
he's not really been reliable this season. So it's a tough situation. They got to find that sure-handed wide receiver that they can go to. And for a while, it was Diggs. And Diggs, this game, only had 2 targets.
I feel like
it's interesting.
We're taking thunder away from Kyle Smith, but as to Stephon...
Yeah, we still have his donkey to go.
As far as Stephon Diggs goes, I mean, you guys got to realize game tape is out for him now. Defenses are probably like, okay, we know we got to stop Stephon Diggs now. You know what I mean?
I said this a couple weeks ago, too. It's pick your poison. You can try to double cover and stuff Diggs, but you're going to leave a gaping hole for Adrian somewhere. And that was really evident this weekend.
Yeah.
But my donkey, if I can jump in, is going to Andrew Sandejo.
Yes.
Fair.
I believe Mr. Carlson said it on an article this weekend. They picked on him hard. And I have nothing against his special teams contributions. I have no problem for him if an actual starter needs to take a breath or a down or two, he's not a starting safety. I don't agree with it. He's athletic as hell. He's super, super, just a good in shape athlete, man. But
he's a solid tackler.
Yes. I don't know. His coverage for me, it's very spotty, and he gave up some big plays. Granted, this defense shut him out in the second half, but man, he got picked on this weekend. So I'm sorry, and I'll tell it right now. My backup donkey this week was going to be Blair Walsh, and of course I blame it on the announcers. As soon as they say he has 17 in a row, did he miss 2 this weekend?
Oh.
I know he missed one for sure. I thought he missed 2.
I believe he missed 2.
One of them was very, 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 very far away.
3 for 5.
53-yarder, I think he missed. That's fine. I don't expect him to make 50-yarders all day, but holy crap, man. Just when we think he's turned it around and he's clutch, there he goes missing. We could have won this game by 22 points. But that's just me being greedy. But we'll get to that. I'm jumping ahead before we get to the game review. My apologies.
Okay, so we talked about Teddy Bridgewater in his day. Adrian Peterson, 203 yards on the ground, 1 touchdown. He broke that 80-yarder that we were talking about. That's
clutch.
Number 2 rushing on the team, Teddy Bridgewater, 2 carries for 23 yards. He ran 1 for 18 yards. Remember that? Yeah. He just seemed to keep going. It was pretty cool.
Run, Teddy, run.
And we saw some nice reverses, too. We saw Adam Thielen. That's the 3rd different way I've pronounced his name.
Hooked on a Thielen.
Do 1 for 14 yards. We saw Stephon Diggs do 1 for 10 yards. We saw Cordero Patterson do 1 for 6 yards. It was just letting everybody run the ball.
It was like Norv Turner said, "Hey, Bill Musgrave, this is how you run a wide receiver sweep."
It was pretty fun to watch. The only other player to run the ball was Matt Asiata, ran it twice for 7 yards. Pretty good stuff, I guess. Leading targeted receiver was Kyle Rudolph, targeted 4 times, caught only 1. After that, the leading yardage wide receiver, Stephon Diggs, 2 catches for 14 yards. Mike Wallace, number 2, with 22 yards. Red Elson, 18 and a touchdown off 2 catches. This passing offense spreads the ball around, and if you're expecting to see numbers like Matt Stafford bombing it up to Calvin Johnson constantly, you're not going to see that with Teddy Bridgewater. Everybody's going to get the ball.
There's a good quote from Linval Joseph, I believe, who said that the Minnesota Vikings play small ball, that is what Mike Zimmer preaches, and honestly, after he says that, it's like, oh yeah, that's exactly what the team does. It's like they play small ball, and that's not a bad thing, because hey, like you said, Adam, Matthew Stafford is always putting up huge fantasy football numbers. Guess what? Lions suck.
Yeah.
And you know what that brings too? I think that brings a quarterback who runs backwards in progressing himself as a player. If you're always trying to force it to Stephon Diggs, you're going to end up throwing a ton of picks. And I hate, as much as Adam Carlson loves the fact that Teddy Bridgewater is a much of an Alex Smith type, I think that's a positive thing. And the more it happens, the more it comes around, the more and more I'm okay with it. I love his ball distribution. He'll get it to Michael Pruitt, and then he'll turn it around and give it to Thielen, and next thing you know, Jarius Wright makes a play. It keeps the defense guessing, and that's one of the things that I absolutely love that they do and make Teddy do, because I think that's a strength of his.
Well, let's be honest. Not everybody in the defense is going to have their A game brought. And when you distribute the ball like that, you can find the little subtleties of, okay, this corner is hesitating a little bit. I can make a play here and there. And Teddy Bridgewater is a smart quarterback that can take advantage of things like that. And the problem is that right now he's playing so conservative that he's waiting for his wide receiver to be open instead of throwing them open. And I think that's something that we're going to see come with him in the future. Hopefully it does anyway, but for now I'm happy seeing the efficient short passes when a receiver is open, not turning the ball over. That's what I want to see.
And I do love...
And you know that... Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say real quick, anytime Rhett Ellison can get in the end zone for a touchdown, that is fantastic, because Rhett is a guy who does all the dirty work for the team. He's always up there in the trenches, blocking, and he rarely, honestly, gets passes thrown his way. So for him to score a touchdown, that's really cool. He deserves it. Like, it's nice to see him get in the end zone every now
It's
and
like
then.
back in the day when Jimmy Kleinsasser would
I
get
knew
in.
you were
Exactly.
going to say Kleinsasser.
Exactly.
Yes.
It was a lot of fun.
Ooh.
Defensively, Captain Munnerlyn, 8 tackles. Linval Joseph with the same. Linval Joseph also added the 1 sack, a tackle for a loss, quarterback hit. I think those were all the same play, and he just absolutely just ate everything up.
He's a monster.
Absolutely could have got a game ball this week. He was a monster, and we'll get to this
I'm sick
shortly.
of giving him game balls.
I'm all right with it. If you guys didn't see, go to NFL Network and look up the video. His hit on Teddy Bridgewater, Jesus Christ. Derek Carr was, it almost made me poop my pants. Could you imagine that dude running at full speed, just aiming for your chest, trying to knock the life out of you? Because Derek Carr, he had a little slip up. I think he might have got the ball out, but he had a slip up, had to put his hand down. And as soon as he got upright, he was knocked backwards again by the big man. And it was a nasty hit. Clean hit, might I add. But it was nasty.
I tweeted out that Linval Joseph hit Derek Carr so hard he turned him into David Carr.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Number 4 tackler on the team this week, Anderson Dejo.
Mm-hmm.
Sure tackler. Struggling in coverage. Let's see, what else do we got this week? 5 passes defensed by Terrence Newman. 5.
Which is crazy because Xavier had such a badass year last year, but Terrence is just stepping in, owning it. Yeah.
Well, we're seeing Terrence's side being picked on a little bit more than usual, and I think that if he keeps having games like these,
they're going to start to avoid him, right?
Yeah, we're going to see Rhodes being thrown at a little bit more often, which could be good news.
Yeah, maybe we can get he can get a couple interceptions.
Absolutely. Otherwise, not everyone seemed to have a decent performance on defense. The thing that I love is that Edmund Robinson was able to step in, and I didn't see that huge decrease.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how the Vikings are finding these guys to plug in and play, but this is something that in the past, whenever one of the star players would go down, it was just brutal, the replacement that would come in, and that player would get picked on, miss tackles, be all over the place. It was an absolute mess.
Yeah, we've had no depth on this team for quite a while. Remember when we had to call in Benny Sapp at the last minute?
Oh, goodness.
What was that, 3 seasons ago? And yeah, you're right. It's like as soon as a starter went down, it was... God, you know in Madden when that happens and you gotta go through free agency and all that's left is people that are in like the 60 overall rating? I swear that's exactly what it was like for the Vikings.
Vikings did a great job against Derek Carr. Quarterback rating of 42 out of 100. That was his QBR. His quarterback rating was 83.7, a little higher on the scale, but still something less than Teddy.
Did you keep track of how many times they called him David Carr on the broadcast?
The announcers were having fun with that.
They were either
I don't know if they realized they were doing it or what, but it was something.
It's really easy. I make the mistake all the time too, but so it's funny to know that other people have the same problems that I do.
You know, it's great too. I have this argument on the internet all the time. These guys are 2 good quarterbacks. They're always going to get compared because one went in the end of the first round, one at the top of the second. One throws a lot of touchdowns, also has a lot of picks. But you know what I always come back with every single time? Wins.
Yeah.
Wins. How many wins
there were
do
other quarterbacks in that draft, too. I mean, Blake Bortles is having a good year. He's making a lot of risky throws, but he's having a good year. Johnny Manziel just got named the starter for the Browns for the rest of the season.
It's good to see it, though. I like Derek Carr. He's a class act. Him and Teddy, I think he said he texted Teddy after he had his concussion to make sure he was all right. So it's good to see that kind of class and that kind of stuff going on between these guys because, you know, they love to compete, but you can see they're friends. But I'm not going to lie to you. If we didn't take Teddy, Derek was my number 2 choice. So that was pretty funny to see both of them playing at the same time. I can't wait till they have to come to Minnesota, though. It's going to be fun.
Amari Cooper, 79 yards. Crabtree, 55. Michael Rivera, 46. Touchdown catches from Andre Holmes and Clive Walford.
What the hell's Clive Walford?
He's their tight end.
Did not know that.
Oh, yeah. He's a pretty decent player. He got some autographed cards of him. I don't know if they're going to be worth anything one day. Hopefully he can keep scoring touchdowns.
Yeah.
On the defensive side of the ball, though, for Oakland, Mario Edwards, 11 total tackles, 1 tackle for a loss, 2 quarterback hits. Who the hell is Mario Edwards and where did he come from?
Don't know.
Mario Edwards Jr., I don't know. Charles Woodson, 0 passes defended, 0 interceptions, 5 tackles. Woodson has made a career this year out of intercepting passes. He's been an absolute Iron Man.
Mm-hmm.
And I bet you that they're kind of disappointed he wasn't able to get his hand on any footballs today.
I thought he would. Not to be a negative Nelly here or anything, but I really thought that you'd see him get one pick on Teddy because, yeah, like you said, he's been having an incredible season this year. But it's kind of fun, actually, that our vested veteran, Terrence Newman, was the one to come out of the game with 2 interceptions. You know that?
It's true.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't mention Jeff Locke averaging 47.7 yards a punt. That was pretty sweet.
Jeff Locke quietly being good for the team. We like that.
Absolutely. And that's all I've got for the game review this week. We've got our social media question. We asked you guys, we've reached the midseason for the Vikings season. We're 6-2. This was, of course, before the game.
Mm-hmm.
How do you feel the team has done to this point, and where do they need to improve? Well, the answers across the board were pretty uniform. Red zone offense got the most nods. Corbin Johnson talking about the red zone. David Mitchell says that the pass defense needs to improve because we can shut down the run, but we're still giving up a lot of yards through the air.
True statement.
Darren Roach says the passing game needs to step up. We have the tools, just need to make more big plays.
Also true.
I think I touched on that a little bit with Teddy wanting to throw when a receiver's open rather than throw a wide receiver open. So hopefully that'll come. Brandon Alles, he is a chatty one. And he always talks about some of the best points. He wants to see... he was surprised with how well the offensive line's been playing, considering all the injuries. He likes to see Minnesota winning close games. He wants to improve red zone and third down efficiency, especially in the brutal second half of the season. And he's right, that schedule looks rough.
It does, but we won't get too far forward, but it's all about when you play teams, and I think that we're coming up on, I don't want to get into the game preview for the Packers, but we're actually starting to play some of these tough teams at a good point in the schedule. So it is tough, but we may have a little bit of breaks coming up for us here.
Jeremy Woods says offense, these next 5 games will tell whether the Vikings are legit. And Tommy Gunn has his hot take. I love his hot takes. He says in 4 weeks, the Minnesota Vikings will be 10-2. You heard it here first. He says the defense needs to share a little bit of the whoop-up they have with the offense. Keep Jeff Locke off the field with some big boy football and decent football schemes.
Bold statement.
Absolutely. He's also got... He had a bold take for the game against Oakland when he said... Oh, this was yesterday, so it was not the game against Oakland, but against Green Bay, he says that Adrian Peterson will have 175 plus yards, 2 touchdowns with 3 runs of 25 yards or more.
Ooh.
And considering that Green Bay currently has the 9th worst rush defense in the NFL, giving up an average of 116.2 yards per game, 4.2 yards per carry, and they really haven't played that many fantastic teams with running backs yet. So it'll be interesting to see.
It is entirely possible that he could blow them up out there in Green Bay.
It very well could be. Very well could be. So Green Bay Packers, the Minnesota Vikings are hitting them at the most opportune time. Packers are struggling mightily with health on the offensive line. It's forcing Aaron Rodgers to make some horrible decisions. The run defense in Green Bay really struggling. If there was a time that the Vikings want to hit Green Bay, it's now.
Mm-hmm.
However, I don't want the Vikings to feel like this is going to be a game that's easily winnable or anything like that, because these division games are always tough. And the Green Bay Packers do have the talent to turn things around at any minute. So while this game might look good right now as far as the trends, we won't know till we see it played out on the field. This is going to be a hard one to predict.
Okay, like we were talking about, Adam, is yes, we are hitting Green Bay at an opportune time because they've lost, what, 3 in a row? I believe they've lost
Yeah,
three in
they're
a row.
struggling.
Yes, they have no momentum right now, but at the same time, it is still the Green Bay Packers. It's still Aaron Rodgers, who is an exceptional quarterback. Love him or hate him, you gotta give him credit for that. And of course, there are division rivals. Like they're always Green Bay and Minnesota always play each other incredibly tough, regardless of what the records are for the respective teams. Do not sleep on the Packers. You never should. I believe, though, that of course Mike Zimmer knows this, and he will be preaching to the team. Actually, you know what? Let me rephrase that a little bit, because I did hear him say in the press conference that yes, he is going to, talk about how important it is to beat Green Bay, but he also did say that he doesn't want to build this game up and make it sound more important than what it is, because they are, like we said, they play small ball and they're very much for next team on the schedule is what you got to focus on and you got to beat them.
That's why I was really
Yes.
surprised about the shirts,
The shirts,
Green Bay Packers
the
shirt.
beat Green Bay shirts, yeah.
I could understand the North on the front. On the back, it should say one game at a time or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
I think that one of the people that seemed most frustrated with it is Brian Robinson, because I think that although he knows how important this game is,
Mm-hmm.
I think that he wanted to focus on each team each week rather than just looking at one opponent on a T-shirt. I can kind of understand where he's coming from, and when he says it's just a T-shirt, I don't know how to feel about it really.
Here's why I like it, and here's why I think you should buy our Beat Green Bay t-shirt, is because you remember back in the day when, the Vikings were having, the hard time playing the Packers. We had John Randall on the team, and they were all the rookies were making such a big deal out of, we're going to get to play Brett Favre. And so what does John Randall do? He brings the number 4 Brett Favre jersey, and he puts it on the tackling dummy in practice, so that the defense can go out there and just practice hitting number 4 to, show everyone that don't worry about the mythic Brett Favre. He's just another guy. He's just another player. Get over it. And so I do think that that is kind of the mentality of the Beat Green Bay t-shirt. Like, get over it. They're not the mythic Green Bay Packers.
They're not the unbeatable.
They're not the unbeatable team. Like, just beat Green Bay, because they're the next team on the schedule. So just go beat them. So I like it. I think it's cool.
Hey, as long as there's a beat the Oakland Raiders shirt and everything else coming, we'll see.
We play beat Atlanta. We'll beat Atlanta. We'll beat Seattle. It's next team up.
We forgot to mention that next week's social media question will be whether or not we think, or you think, if Adrian Peterson will break 2,000 yards this season.
Yes, I believe statistically he is on pace to do so.
No.
I thought that's what someone said, is that his average...
No, through 9 games he only has 900 yards. He's going to have to step it up a bit.
I thought that he was above what his average was.
No.
Through his 2,000-yard season.
Well, that might be possible.
Yes.
But I know that statistically he's not on track to do it.
Okay, well that's what I meant, is that, he was above what his average was in the year that he broke 2,000.
But there's still a lot of football left, and there's some football against some really bad run defenses coming up.
Mm-hmm.
So it's possible. And plus, Adrian seems to be hitting his stride. He's been nailing a couple big plays here and there. It's definitely possible. But let us know. Do you think he can do it? We'll have that question posted up on our Facebook and our Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
So let me give you an update on the Yahoo Survival League. Things are looking pretty grim in there right now, guys.
Uh-oh.
Week 10 was not friendly.
Brutal week.
We had people picking the Green Bay Packers, the Philadelphia Eagles, the Cincinnati Bengals, and of course the Denver Broncos, all of which lost and caused several people to get their third strike, eliminating them. We are down to 4 survivors in the league. These four people are the only people left to have a chance to win that Minnesota Vikings jersey of their choice. All we have left is Gopher's Pride, who has 2 strikes. Eric 19 with 2 strikes. Bridge over Troubled Water still hanging in there with 2 strikes. And our only player left with 1 strike is Bleeds Purple.
Awesome, guys. Choose wisely. I feel sorry for the people who got eliminated on picking the Bengals.
This week,
yeah.
Right?
Man, I tell you what, man, if I would have had the Bengals versus the Texans, I'd have picked Cincinnati, too.
Yeah, that seemed like an easy
a pretty
pick.
surefire, easy pick. I mean,
I'd have fallen for it. Then again, I was out in week 6, so I can't say nothing.
I didn't even play, so I don't know what right I have to talk. But
hey, but sometimes it's fun just to play and see what's going on. 4 teams left. Hard to believe.
I'm
hard to believe.
I'm still really looking forward to knowing what player they're gonna pick when they win. I want to know.
Yeah.
Is it gonna be Adrian? Will it be Harrison Smith? Maybe.
Could be.
Stephon Diggs.
Maybe Trey Waynes.
Trey Waynes. Or Terrence Newman.
Yeah.
A lot of choices.
Eric Kendricks might be a fun one.
Mm-hmm.
Lots of great choices. This is where we would normally have Mr. Kyle Smith join us and tell us what his bold statement is for the week, but his cell phone sadly lost battery, and he is not with us anymore in the chat, as you can probably tell from...
Probably figured out, I don't know.
Yeah, since he hasn't said anything in a while.
15, 20 minutes ago. Actually, we just have him locked in a closet.
That's right.
Just didn't want to tell you guys. We'll feed him here in a little bit. But he did leave us his bold statement in the chat window.
Oh.
Yes, I don't know if you've seen that, but I've seen that, so I can give you the Kyle Smith bold statement of the week. He says, and I quote, "Mike Wallace will be gone next year. Thank you, salary cap."
Oh.
I suppose we can elaborate on this since he's not with us. Give our opinion on it really quick here, Adam. I would say that if Mike Wallace is not willing to restructure and take a smaller deal, he will be gone from this team because the production does not match what he is getting paid.
Well, all of Mike Wallace's guaranteed money is gone after this season because the Vikings carried over his contract from the Dolphins. 2016, he is due $11.5 million. And that's a salary cap hit. He's got the same salary cap hit for 2017. I don't see the Vikings keeping him on for $23 million for the next 2 years to get the production that they have from him.
No. Because remember, this team has to take care of Harrison Smith, who's not.
And that's no knock on us about disliking Mike Wallace or anything like that. It's just the production isn't meeting the money. It's the same problem we had with John Carlson. We liked John Carlson. He came in, he played hard, he had some great games. But he was making way too much money to be there.
And hey, if Mike Wallace wants to take a lesser deal to stick around in Minnesota, considerably lesser deal to stick around in Minnesota, by all means, do it, because he's a veteran guy to have in that locker room. And I do think that wide receiver is going to be, even though we have a lot of talent, it's still a position in need. So if you can restructure, if you can restructure with Mike Wallace, and you can keep him around through training camp and preseason and see how it shakes out with some of the other guys, with your draft picks or other possible free agents, that's a definite thing that I could see Rick Spielman doing.
Definitely. And I hate to see players go, especially ones that I believe have talent. And as much as fans remember me being against this Mike Wallace thing.
Hey, he's growing on me a little bit, right?
I would love to see him step up and assume a big role for the team now that he's here.
I just don't I mean,
I just don't see his fit in the offense.
never say never, but he just doesn't really seem to fit with what the team wants to do. And
I see the role they want. I know they want him to stretch the field. They want him to be that deep ball threat. They want him to pull some defenders out of the box for Adrian. They have all these plans with Mike Wallace, but you can plan all you want, but it all comes down to execution.
And I mean, devil's advocate, you could say that, okay, they brought in Linval Joseph, and in year 1, he was good, kind of quiet, and then year 2 with the team, he really
He had
explodes.
a bullet wound in his leg.
I know, that's why I'm saying devil's advocate here, but I mean, at the same time, I don't believe that Mike Wallace is going to be Linval Joseph in year 2, where he's all of a sudden going to break out, because wide receiver, I feel like, is one of those positions where you should be able to go out there and produce in year 1, regardless of the system. Like, if you fit it, you should do good right away.
Well, let's say
For a
something
veteran?
that fans have been forgetting. This is Teddy Bridgewater's first season with the Minnesota Vikings as the team starter.
Mm-hmm.
It was not the plan to have him start last year. He was supposed to be brought along slowly and have him ease his way in. Heck, they had Matt Castle for 2 years. He might have been staying for this year while Teddy learned for another year.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know what the big plan was for Teddy Bridgewater, but we know he wasn't supposed to play last year. And we know that this year was the first year he actually got a training camp, got to work with the ones, got to get everything settled. Be patient with him in this offense. Let him work with the wide receivers. Let him figure things out, get on his own page. And I hate defending Teddy Bridgewater because I would love to see him take the deeper shots. I'd love to see him be able to connect on more of those. And it's frustrating when there's a player running wide open down the field and Teddy will overthrow him, or he doesn't really underthrow too much.
No, not really.
I think he takes the safe route on that and just guns it.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that you can overthrow guys like Jarius Wright or Stephon Diggs or Mike Wallace is unbelievable in today's NFL.
Yeah, it really is.
People say he has no arm strength, he can't throw the deep ball. When you're overthrowing those guys, you've got some distance.
I think what has Vikings fans concerned, and like you said, there's this mentality of you had to sit and wait with Christian Ponder, and then it doesn't work out for Ponder. And then you kind of feel like that if you sit and wait and start making excuses for Teddy, the same thing is going to happen. But it's important to remember that Teddy Bridgewater is not Christian Ponder.
No.
What happened with Ponder was because of Christian Ponder. And
he's not Super Bowl champion Tavares Jackson either.
Well, no, he is not. But look at Andy Dalton. Andy Dalton, I think there were probably Bengals fans that were ready to give up on him, but they stuck with him, and I think he's playing pretty darn good football for them right
Except
now.
last week.
Well, yeah, you know, he had an off game too.
It
but
happens.
I mean,
he's an above-average quarterback.
Exactly.
He's got some good weapons.
And I know I gave Teddy the donkey at the earlier portion of the show, so I gotta make up for it here a little bit at the end of the show when I say you just gotta stick with him and have some faith in Teddy Bridgewater and this Vikings coaching staff, because I really firmly do believe that he will turn into the quarterback of the future for this team and be playing darn good football for a long time for the Vikings.
And it says a lot that Teddy Bridgewater can have a solid game, hit a lot of receivers, not turn the ball over, and still be the team's donkey.
Mm-hmm.
That says a lot for how far this team has come along. I remember when we first started this and we had to just narrow down our donkeys.
Yeah, there were some bad football that was played.
Bad football.
Bad football.
And that's all we have for this week. I'd like to remind you, for me, to check out Undead Walking, because The Walking Dead is only 2 episodes away from the mid-season finale. Things are going to start heating up real bad here, and there's a lot of new characters being introduced, a lot of new crazy stuff happening. So head over there, Undead Walking, check it out.
Guys, Abraham has a rocket launcher. RPG.
He does.
He's
Yeah.
got like and multiple loads of ammunition for it. So
He does.
something big is gonna happen. Like you don't just give a character an RPG and then
Big bada boom.
and then be like, oh, 4 seasons later, remember when he found that? No. Like I'm sure Adam knows. I don't know what's gonna happen, but I'm gonna guess something big's gonna be happening here
Something big is gonna blow up.
really soon.
And if you're a fan of the Vikings, which you better be if you've listened to this far of the show, the Viking Age is where I do a lot of my writing. I've also been writing on fansided.com. Not as many articles there, but I am there as well. But the Viking Age is where, if you're a Vikings fan, you should come read my stuff.
Great stuff over there. You know what? One last quick thought. We never said whether or not we thought the Vikings were going to win against the Packers.
Are we supposed to do that?
I think we should. What? You throw your dice on the table, Adam. What do you say?
I say that we're gonna get another draw.
Another draw? No, you can't say that. Don't say that. You have to pick whether or not they're going to win or lose.
Why? Calling it,
You can't.
saying that it's gonna be a tie is a way more bold statement than
That is
picking a winner.
That is not a bold statement. Well, I am going to say the Vikings are going to win.
Okay. Handily, or?
I think they will win in another close game, and I think it's going to come down to like a single 7-point difference. Like it will be a touchdown that decides this game.
And then that touchdown will be scored, and nobody will score in overtime. Tie.
No, you know what? It'll be a 2-minute Teddy is going to drive.
Actually, in overtime, it's going to be field goal, then no score, it's over.
No, 2-minute Teddy is going to drive the Vikings down the field, and they're going to win it by a touchdown.
And let's see, let's pretend to be Kyle Smith here. Vikings going to win by 14.
That was a good impression.
It was horrible. That's my go-to on deep voice, guys. But I'd like to thank everyone for listening. Head on over to the Facebook page. That's where we do a lot of chatting. I do the chatting on the Viking Age Facebook page, so come over and talk to me. Both the Kyles handle the Twitter account at Purple People Pod.
Mm-hmm.
In the meantime, stay classy, Minnesota.